Howdy everyone, it's Sam. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support, bringing you Finals Week 1 2022 NRL tips and the Cowboys. And the Cowboys are right in the thick of it. Let's go. The first final of the 2022 NRL Finals Series is from Bluebet Stadium in Penrith. Penrith Panthers are hosting the Parramatta Eels in a big Western Sydney derby. The Panthers are $1.37 favourites on Sportsbet, whereas the Parramatta Eels are $3.10 outsiders. Back the truck up with the Penrith Panthers team list news. So let's go through it all. So Dylan Edwards is fullback. Taylor May, who's going to be suspended for 2 games in 2023, not in 2022. He's going to be playing, and then his winger partner is Brian To'o. Isaac Tungo and Stephen Crichton are the centres. Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary are the halves pairing. Nathan Cleary playing his first game since taking on the Parramatta Eels and being suspended for 5 contests after he spear tackled, uplifted Dylan Brown and into the turf. For the forward pack now for the Penrith Panthers, Leota and Fisher-Harris start with Coruscant in at hooker. The back row features Kikau, Martin and Yeo. It seems like Liam Martin was at a chance of missing this contest, and I don't think an injury cloud will be around him throughout the week. I think he'll be fit to play. And then the interchange bench reads Mitch Kenny, Scott Sorensen, Spencer Leniu and Jamin Salmon. And I don't think there's any unfair miss-outs. Charlie Staines has been named as 18th man. It's really good to see Spencer Leniu in there as well. That's a really strong lineup for Penrith. Shifting over to the Parramatta Eels now. Gutherson is the fullback. Sivo and Blake are the wingers. The centre pairing is Penasini and Opacek, and then the halves pairing is Brown and Moses. The forward pack for the Parramatta Eels is Campbell Gillard, Paulo and Marnie in at hooker, and then the back row for the Eels is Lane, Papali'i and Mattison, and then the interchange bench reads Makatoa, Jacob Arthur in jersey number 15, Oregon Kafusi and Marata Niukore, and then 18th man is Nathan Brown, and Bryce Cartwright is on the reserves list. Jake Arthur in at 15. Yo, what? I'm not one of these Jacob Arthur haters in any way, shape or form, but to have a half on the bench as a break glass in case of an emergency if Brown or Moses goes down, I don't know, man. You'd want Bryce Cartwright in there throwing 15-metre flip passes to Moses, or you'd want Nathan Brown in there with some more aggression to battle the Penrith Panther forward pack that have had a week off. They're going to be right well and rested. So I don't know about that. So watch this space. Maybe Jacob Arthur will be swapped out for Nathan Brown come kickoff. But even to just name Jacob Arthur, it's perplexing. And like, you don't want the Parramatta Eels to go through 16 of the 17 selected players. You know, you want all 17 to get some game time for sure to help out their teammates. As we all know, the Parramatta Eels have had a bit of wood over the Penrith Panthers over the past couple of seasons, and particularly winning the past 2 contests in a row. That first game against the Penrith Panthers, I think they just got a lucky bounce and Dylan Brown scored that try, and that's effectively, by and large, what won them the game. Penrith Panthers were off a little bit, and then that contest against the Parramatta Eels, I think it was round 19 or round 20, where Nathan Cleary got sent off and Panthers had to play with just the 12 men on the paddock for maybe over half of the contest. Maybe makes the Parramatta Eels look better when you just look at the scoreline alone. I think Penrith Panthers are just, oh man, they're going to have vengeance supremely on their mind. They're going to come out firing, and I can't see the Parramatta Eels winning this contest. And if they do, I'll put this one out there. If the Parramatta Eels go to Penrith and beat a well-rested Panthers unit, Parramatta Eels will feature in the grand final. I have no doubt about that. It would be such an enormous victory for that club that I think they can ride that momentum into at least a grand final appearance if they do pull off the big upset. It's really juicy odds, especially that Eels have beaten them twice this year, but I'm going to go Penrith Panthers to win this one 1-12. Oh, and by the way, Gerard Sutton has been named to be the referee in this game, and the bunker referee is going to be Adam G. These referee selections and bunker selections are going to be critical for the rest of this month. So again, Gerard Sutton is the on-field ref, and Adam G is Mr. Bunker. Second final this weekend kicks off from 5:30 in Melbourne at Amy Park. Melbourne Storm host the Canberra Raiders. The Storm are $1.35 favourites to the Canberra Raiders $3.25. The team list news is as follows. For the Melbourne Storm, Nick Meaney is at fullback, Munster and Hughes are the halves pairing. The wingers are Norfoluma makes his finals debut, and Xavier Coates is the other, and Marion Seve and Justin Olam are the centre pairing. For the Melbourne Storm forward pack, Bromwich, Asafa Solomona and Grant are the front row. The back row features Kofusi, Bromwich and Josh King is the lock. The interchange bench reads Brandon Smith, Kamakamika, Trent Liero and Chris Lewis, and 18th man is young Tonamapia. Moving over to the Canberra Raiders, and the fullback is Xavier Savage making his finals debut. Nick Chotrich and Rapana are the winger pairing. Centre pairing is Timoko and Chris. The halves pairing, Jack Whiten returns after a week off, and Jamal Fogarty is the halfback. The forward pack features Josh Papali'i, Joseph Tarpany, and no pressure bro, but Zach Wilford in at hooker. Well, man, I think keep an eye out on him. I think if he starts a little bit nervous, they won't get their flow on in attack. So Zach Wilford is definitely a Raiders player to look out for this weekend. The back row for the Raiders is Hudson Young, who is in elite form, man. He is so good this year. Elliot Whitehead and Adam Elliott. And the interchange for the Raiders is Starling, Gula, Horsburgh and Hadawiranira, with Albert Hopewati in as 18th man. This is another stat that we all know. If you don't know, the Raiders haven't lost in Melbourne since 2017, 18, thereabouts. It's been a long time since they've actually lost at Amy Park. They've won 7 overall in the history of Amy Park, which is the best of any away team by far and away. They don't fear Amy Park, and they had a great victory against the Melbourne Storm on a Sunday afternoon earlier this season with James Schiller, who hasn't been named but scored one of the tries this season in that contest. Karen Munster has played at fullback in an attacking role. Nick Meaney has been sort of the 5'8" halfback for the past couple of weeks while Jerome Hughes was out. I don't see Munster and Meaney swapping around. I think it's just too important to keep Munster and Hughes together as a combination and let Meaney do his thing. A Pappenhausen wouldn't be too bad for the Melbourne Storm. This is supremely difficult to pick. I don't necessarily like Marion Seve's defense. I think he can be exposed, and I think that's Timoko's edge. It's fair dinkum a split hair between these two. The Raiders are coming into this contest with 3 wins in a row, I think, or even more so than that. Melbourne Storm have lost 2 in a row. As much as you can probably predict that I'm going to be barracking for the Canberra Raiders this weekend, Melbourne Storm. Yeah, I'm going to tip the Melbourne Storm to win this one in a bloody thriller, 1-12. Referees are Grant Atkins, the on-field referee, and Mr. Bunker is Ashley Klein. The fourth and final is from Allianz Stadium on Sunday afternoon. It's the Sydney Roosters hosting South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Roosters are the favourites at $1.55. The Rabbitohs are $2.45 thanks to Sportsbet. That's pretty juicy for the Rabbitohs, man. The team list news is as follows. Tedesco is the fullback, and the wingers are Daniel Tupou, who returns from a groin injury, and Joseph Suaalii is the other winger who had a rest last week due to a shoulder complaint. The centre pairing is Momirovski and Hutchison, and the halves pairing is Keary and Sam Walker. The forward pack for the Sydney Roosters, Jared Waerea-Hargreaves and Taukeiaho are the front row with Sam Verrills in at hooker. The back row is Crichton, Butcher and Victor Radley returns after copying an awful concussion a couple of weeks ago. Then the interchange bench reads Connor Watson, Egan Butcher, Adam Keighran and Matt Lodge, with 18th man Kevin Naiqama. Adam Keighran in at jersey number 16. It's sort of the same thing with Jacob Arthur, but I think he could. I think he can offer more than what Jacob Arthur could, with all due respect. Maybe slot into that dummy half role better than a Jacob Arthur. If not, maybe he could be swapped out for a bigger body like a Fletcher Baker or a Terrell May, for example. So watch this space, in particularly on Adam Keighran. Shifting over now to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and Latrell Mitchell has been named a fullback. Alex Johnston and Tane Milne are the wingers, and the centre pairing is Campbell Graham and Isaiah Tass, and Graham returns after a week off. Cody Walker and Lachlan Ilias are the halves pairing, with the front row being Tavita Totola, Mark Nichols and Damien Cook, and Tavita Totola won South Sydney Rabbitohs best player of the season, so congratulations to you, and I think that's well deserved. I think he's been terrific in 2022. Mark Nichols starting, that's interesting in itself, but the back row now is Koala Matangi, Jai Arrow and Cameron Murray. He got knocked out in last week's contest, and I think you would have had to do some harsh things to Cameron Murray to ensure that he wouldn't play in this game, man. He was never going to miss this game. The interchange bench reads Cody Nikorima, Hame Sele, Thomas Burgess and Saliva Havili, with Blake Taff in a jersey number 18, and that's great reward for Saliva Havili as well, because there wasn't a lot of excitement over his signing from Raiders to Rabbitohs, but I think he's been pretty strong for the Rabbitohs. Last week up at Allianz Stadium, Roosters exploded out of the blocks, being that it was their brand new digs, and they really put it to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, pressured Latrell Mitchell into making some bad mistakes, man. A couple of kickouts on the full, or goal line dropouts, I should say. They didn't go the full 10 metres. Latrell Mitchell, his first try involvement was a first tackle kick that luckily came off for them. So, but you've got Damien Cook coming back into the fold this weekend now, which is going to give them a lot more speed, a lot more creativity out of dummy half this weekend. Campbell Graham, with his experience and his strength and power in the centres, is going to be a huge difference. And if Cameron Murray can survive the first 60 seconds, it's going to go a long way for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Joseph Manu, though, however, for the Roosters, is out of this game with a calf injury. That's a massive out, considering he was pretty dynamic in the Roosters' victory last weekend against the Rabbitohs, but it's levelled out by the return of Tupou and Victor Radley. This is supremely difficult to pick. I can't believe the Rabbitohs are $2.45. I think that's really, really nice value, and you should all get on it as soon as possible, because I think it'll be $1.80 to $2. I think South Sydney Rabbitohs can come in a hell of a lot come kickoff. So get on the Rabbitohs now if you do want to choose the Rabbitohs. Wow. I said last week that I don't think the Roosters are going to win their first. I said last week I don't think the Roosters are going to lose their first ever home ground. At home game at their brand new home ground. Gee whiz, get it right, Sam. And that's exactly what happened, but they did lose that second half, something like, what was it, 12 points to 6, or that they did fade away. They dropped off in intensity in that second half, and I don't imagine that'll happen again, though, considering it's a finals contest. But it does show that South Sydney Rabbitohs, if they were there at the beginning of last week's contest, they were in that up to their eyeballs, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I do think, though, that both these sides did hide away their best game plans, their best efforts. You look at 2009 as well, where Dragons and Eels played back-to-back weeks as well. There was a case with the Bulldogs and the Cowboys in 2007, but the Cowboys won both of those, but Dragons won the final round in 2009 heavily, and then the Parramatta Eels won the final a week later. Yeah, man, dude, ultra hard. I think with Manu out, the Rabbitohs have a better backline. The forward pack, I think the Roosters have got the Rabbitohs, even though that back row for the South Sydney Rabbitohs is still very, very good. Looking at the interchange, man, they're pretty much the same. Adam Kieran being the real difference between the two interchanges. It's a smaller bench the Roosters are working with, which does lead me to believe that maybe Kieran will be swapped out for a Terrell May or a Fletcher Baker. I reckon the key to victory for South Sydney Rabbitohs this weekend is to have some fair dinkum mongrel in them, because the Roosters have been fiery old bastards for the past few weeks now, man. And there's only so long that I guess that you can focus your energy into being absolute mongrels, intense dogs, for a month or so. And don't know, man, if South Sydney Rabbitohs can just, I don't know, if one of them can get told that you're a bunch of soft, you know what, I think they can fire up. I'm going to tip the Rabbitohs to get the victory. I think at the price that they're at as well, I think they can get the upset and beat the Roosters at Allianz Stadium. But fair dinkum, go and flip a fucking coin. The referee for this match is Ashley Klein, and the bunker referee is Grant Atkins. And yes, just to solidify, I am doing a complete match preview of Sharks versus Cowboys with Dan and Terry of the Rugby League Outlaws and Cowboy Kate, who is also a part of the Rugby League Outlaws program on YouTube. Super grateful that they're going to be joining me to really get into the meat and potatoes of it. Thank you to them, and thank you to you for your continuous support. Last year, I was a Cowboy supporter talking footy with yous, and the Cowboys came 15th. Now, the boys are third, they're playing finals. I'm so excited to bring you some of the content that's coming up as well. There's NFL coming in the next couple of days as well, so look forward to that. But I am previewing Cowboys versus Sharks with Dan, Terry, Kate tonight at 7 o'clock. Be there or be square. Again, I hope your team wins this weekend, except for the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. And I'll talk to you guys in the next couple of days. Adios.